Hi everyone, we're here at Johnson Fitness and Wellness and headquarters, and today we have Dr. Carly Intelkoffer,
Yep.
um, and she's our global wellness researcher, and we're going to be talking about 4 tips to try and stay healthy during the holidays. So we'll just go ahead and dive right in.
Well, the holiday season, as you know, presents major challenges because you're surrounded by new circumstances and really highly palatable food, which can be wonderful to enjoy but difficult to avoid overeating. So, what can we do to avoid the typical holiday overeating cycle that we then have to try to recover from when we make our January New Year's resolutions?
Right.
Well, the first tip I have, of course, is to try to make time for physical activity. And this is no easy approach because, of course, you have travel plans, you're in highly social environments, you might be around people who don't exercise regularly or as regularly as you want to. But there's a couple ways you can work this into your schedule. One is to do it on your own before you travel to a friend's house or a family's house. But that can also be a challenge if you're traveling and you're in a new location. The second is to try to get other people involved. And this doesn't mean you have to get them pumping iron and sweating profusely. It just means maybe going for a walk before you eat or after you eat to help reduce some of that high blood sugar that accompanies any big meal that you might share with family or friends.
Right. So a spike in blood sugar, does that make you feel any different? Like, if you have a spike in blood sugar, do you get more tired or?
Exactly. One of the problems when we overeat, and I'm sure most people have felt this, I know I have, is that you get this after eating tiredness. And you might even want to take a nap after you eat. I know Thanksgiving is a big napping day. But we can avoid some of this if we get our muscles activated because, in fact, when our muscles are used, they help take in a lot of that blood sugar to prevent the weight gain that results from that and to also prevent that tiredness. So that's why you might want to try making it a new tradition in your family to go for a stroll after your heavy meal at Thanksgiving. It'll make everyone feel better and it reduces some of the strain on your pancreas cells which produce insulin. So it reduces some of the need for that insulin, which can be especially helpful if there's people in your family who are a little overweight or they're struggling with their blood sugar. So going for a walk afterwards, and it doesn't have to be vigorous, just a stroll, maybe check out the neighborhood or check out some part of town or whatever, that all can add up to a healthier outcome in the long run.
Okay. Well, how long do you recommend? Like, I imagine that not everyone's going to be down for a 2-hour stroll.
Sure. Well, it depends on what somebody's seeking. Like for me, I don't really want to tell my parents or my family that I'm trying to get them to exercise, but just going for a stroll, something that's between 15 minutes and 40 minutes, is usually kind of relaxing. It's a nice way to wind down. And it puts everyone in a pretty good mood instead of everyone being passed out on the couch or asleep in their favorite recliner. So it's just a nice way to add that in there. Now, in addition to trying to make physical activity a priority, my second tip has to do with paying attention to the number of drinks and the type of hors d'oeuvres that you're consuming, because usually with the holiday season, your eating and drinking patterns change a little bit, and especially
that's a big one.
if you're at a friend's house or a family's house, usually there's a lot of hors d'oeuvres and more, maybe even alcoholic beverages, beer or wine, and you intake those and you don't really take that into consideration when you then serve your plate. So the second tip is pay attention to those extra sources of calories and sugars that can impact your overall weight, so that when you serve yourself, maybe get a few more vegetables on that plate so that you can compensate for the increase in all those other things you're consuming. In addition, you might want to try matching every alcoholic beverage or sugar-containing beverage with a glass of water.
Oh, that's a good one. Stay hydrated
Exactly,
out there.
stay hydrated, because it does make a difference. In fact, there's several studies that show that if you increase your water intake right before a meal, it reduces the amount of calories you consume by up to about 100 calories.
Oh.
The long-term results of this, and it's been shown with even like randomized clinical trials, is that you end up losing more weight over time. So most of the trials are about 4 months long or 3 months long, and usually people lose between 3 and 5 pounds more weight if they consume water before their eating commences. So you might want to try just staying extra hydrated to help you avoid those extra calories.
Oh, that's a good one. I think everyone could use some more water over the holidays. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the third one is also has to do with paying attention, and it's just paying attention to how full your stomach actually feels. we don't start to feel pressure when we eat from our stomach until we're about 70% full. And by the time we're about 80% full is a good idea to try to slow yourself down. So it can be difficult to do these types of tactics at the beginning, but just try to be aware of it. Maybe this year is the first time that you're really concentrating on, okay, what percentage of fullness do I feel? And trying to eat so that you're satisfied but not overly stuffed requires some new thought processes. So being aware of that is a good tip year-round, but especially during the holiday season.
Is there, I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere that it takes your stomach 20 minutes to feel full. Is there some validity to that?
There is some. It does take time. Those appetite hormones are still circulating really high right before a meal, so it does take some time for your body to start to feel more full. So for some people, eating slower or chewing your food more fully is a good tactic, but it depends on the person how they want to go about it. Either way, just try to pay attention to how you're feeling as you're eating, even though there's plenty of distractions during the holiday season.
That's true. That's a good tip.
Okay, so the last one, and this one might seem a little unusual, but try to think of your future self. Because, of course, what you're doing today is going to impact yourself tomorrow and in the upcoming months. So one tactic that's worked for some of my clients is to consider your future self and what advice would your future self give yourself today. So in other words, you try to be kind to your future self to set them up for success. So if you're one of those people who's working on improved body composition or lower body fat, then you might think about what advice you would give yourself, imagining that third person approach, and that's been shown to be somewhat successful because, of course, usually the advice you'd give yourself is no need to eat so much, or slow yourself down, or try to be more physically active. Basically the same kinds of tips that that we'd come across here or any other source for appetite tips.
That's true. I think that plays into the New Year's resolutions theme and just thinking about how you want to feel the next day, because you got to have all the energy for Black Friday shopping.
Of course, of course.
Also, we have tons of Black Friday deals, so you should check out our current deals page at johnsonfitness.com/current-deals for our Black Friday deals. Get yourself a treadmill and maybe work off some of that blood sugar that's going to be spiking.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for those 4 holiday tips. And thank you for everyone for joining us during your lunch hour, I assume. And I hope you have a great holiday and happy Thanksgiving from Johnson Fitness and Wellness.